I never believed in ghosts until the night they hired me to guard the dead. It was the summer of 2022, 3 months after graduation, and my bank account was bleeding out faster than my job applications were being ignored. I was crashing on a friend's couch, eating instant noodles for the 3rd week straight, when I saw the listing at 2:13 a.m., overnight security, St. Mary's Mercy Hospital, closed facility. $35 per hour, cash. Immediate start. I laughed at the pay. Double anything I'd ever been offered. And applied before my brain could talk me out of it. They called me back at 6 a.m. and told me to be at the gates by 11 p.m. that same night. No interview, no background check, just bring ID and don't be late. That alone should have sent me running. St. Mary's Mercy had been condemned since 2009, after a massive electrical fire tore through the children's and maternity wings. 27 people died that night, 13 of them kids under the age of 10. The East Wing collapsed entirely. The West Wing was left standing but gutted, used only for storage and the occasional horror movie shoot. My job description was simple. Sit in the old security booth, watch 6 working cameras, and walk the safe corridors once an hour from midnight to 8. They handed me a mag light with half-dead batteries, a radio that crackled more than it spoke, and a key ring so heavy it could double as a weapon. The supervisor was a tired old man named Carl who smelled like cigarettes and regret. He walked me through the main doors, pointed to a dusty desk covered in old monitors, and gave me the only rule that mattered. Whatever you do, never open room 13 in pediatrics. It's boarded up for a reason. Don't touch it. Don't even stand in front of it too long. Then he locked the entrance gate behind me and drove away. I remember laughing. Classic new guy hazing, I thought. The building hit me like a wall of cold the second I stepped inside. It smelled like wet ash, bleach, and something metallic I couldn't place. Every footstep echoed for 10 seconds. The emergency exit sign still glowed a sickly green, running on some ancient backup battery. I settled into the cracked vinyl chair at 11:57 p.m. and tried to act like this was normal. At exactly midnight, the temperature dropped 20 degrees. I saw my own breath. The 6 monitors flickered, then steadied. Cameras 1 to 5 showed empty hallways. Camera 6, pediatrics, was nothing but static. At 12:47 a.m., the ancient intercom crackled to life on its own. A tiny voice, maybe 5 years old, whispered through the speakers. "Are you my new doctor?" I nearly dropped my flashlight. I'd pressed the mute button, told myself it was old wiring, leftover recordings, anything rational. But the voice came back softer. I've been waiting so long. I turned the entire system off and on again, static. I started my first patrol at 1:15 a.m. because sitting still felt worse. The maternity ward still had pastel balloons painted on the walls, faded to gray. I passed the nursery and saw a single crib in the middle of the room, rocking gently, back and forth. No wind, no open windows, no explanation. I stepped closer and the rocking stopped. The crib was empty except for a small, stained teddy bear. Its button eye was missing. I wrote it off as rats and kept moving. By 2 a.m., I reached the children's wing and everything changed. The air felt thick, like walking through water. Small barefoot handprints started appearing in the dust on the floor, always 10 feet ahead of me, like someone was leading me. I followed because I'm an idiot. The prints stopped directly in front of pediatrics room 13. The door was sealed with thick plywood, yellow caution tape, and a faded biohazard sticker. Someone had carved fresh words into the wood with what looked like fingernails. "She's waiting inside." I reached for the radio. Dead. I took a photo instead, proof I wasn't crazy. When I lowered my phone, the carving had changed. Now it read, "So are we." I backed away fast. At 3:03 a.m., every single light in the building flickered in perfect unison. Then the emergency backups kicked on, blood red. The intercom exploded with screaming. Not one child, dozens, all overlapping, begging for mommies and daddies who never came. It lasted 8 seconds and cut to total silence. I sprinted back to the office and locked the metal door. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely turn the deadbolt. I checked the monitors again. Cameras 1 to 5 empty. Camera 6, pediatrics, was crystal clear for the first time all night. Room 13's door stood wide open. The plywood was lying on the floor inside the room. I never touched it. At 4:02 a.m. I heard dragging in the hallway. Slow, wet, deliberate. Like something heavy being pulled across tile. It stopped right outside my door. Then knocking, tiny fists, rapid and excited. A little girl's voice sang through the gap. "Let us in, mister." "We're cold." I didn't answer. The dragging started again, moving away. I waited 20 minutes before cracking the door. The hallway was empty except for a long wet streak leading toward the elevators. It smelled like formaldehyde. At 5:17 a.m., my phone buzzed in my pocket. One new photo message from an unknown number. It was me, asleep at the desk, head down on my arms. Timestamp, 5:07 a.m. I had been wide awake staring at the door. I grabbed my keys and ran for the main entrance. The gates were chained shut from the outside with a brand new padlock. I was trapped with almost 3 hours left on my shift. I hid in the old chapel on the second floor because it felt safer. The pews still had hymnals open to the same page. 666. The stained glass windows showed angels with their faces scratched out. That's when the singing started. Children's voices from the basement morgue, sweet and off-key. Row, row, row your boat. Over and over, getting louder, coming up the stairwell. I dragged a heavy wooden crucifix in front of the chapel door and waited. The singing stopped directly outside. Then giggling. Dozens of them. The doorknob rattled gently, like they were taking turns. At 6:45 a.m. the power snapped back to normal. White lights back on. Everything went quiet. I waited another 10 minutes before moving the crucifix. The hallway was empty. No wet streaks, no handprints, nothing. At 7:58 a.m. exactly, I heard chains rattling at the front gate. I ran downstairs. The padlock was lying on the ground, open, chain coiled neatly beside it. I didn't ask questions, I just ran to my car and peeled out. I never went back for my final paycheck. 3 months later, I was deleting old photos to free up space, and found a 30-second video I never recorded. Timestamp, my first night, 3:33 a.m. The camera is inside room 13, pointed at the bed. A little girl in a burned hospital gown sits on the edge swinging her legs. Her skin is gray, hair singed off in patches. She looks straight into the lens and smiles with black, empty eyes. She says clearly, "Tell the next guard we have room for one more now." Then she waves with a hand that has 6 fingers. I searched the records after that. On March 19, 2009, the fire started in the electrical room beneath pediatrics. 13 children and one night nurse named Mary Sullivan died when the floor collapsed into the flames. They never recovered Mary's body. They boarded up room 13 with her still inside because the debris was too unstable. Every security guard they hire since then lasts exactly 1 shift. Some quit at sunrise, some disappear completely. I was the first one who ran fast enough. The listing is still online, by the way. Same pay, same hours. If you're desperate enough to apply, remember this. Some places don't hire guards to keep people out. They hire them to keep something in. If this story just made you afraid of the dark again, you know what to do. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Tomorrow we're back with revenge so sweet it'll rot your teeth. Stay addicted, and whatever you do, never take the night shift at St. Mary's.